This video is sponsored by the sheet music iPad app, Newzik. Golden Brown by the Stranglers is one of those fantastically unlikely pop songs. It's in an odd meter, it has a harpsichord, and it doesn't really have a chorus, but it's a fantastic piece of music.
Golden brown, texture like sun, lays me down, with my mind she runs throughout the night, no need to fight.
The main riff of this song could be described as being in 13/8 time. There's 13 eighth notes throughout the main phrase. But it's easier to understand by subdividing it into either a group of 6 and 7 or into groups of 3 and 4. This use of a 13-beat phrase is incredibly unusual and probably unique in pop music. And it's also precisely because of this weird time signature that the Stranglers had to fight to get Golden Brown released at all. The band's bassist Jean-Jacques Bernal said, "The record label hated Golden Brown. They said, this song, you can't dance to it, you're finished." But of course this song was a hit. It was the Stranglers' biggest hit in the UK, getting to number 2, and probably, at least according to Hugh Cornwell, the lead singer of the Stranglers, Golden Brown would have got to number 1 if it hadn't been for Jean-Jacques Bernal letting slip to the press what the song was really about.
I think when people hear the lyrics, not knowing that it's about heroin, they hear the romance in the lyrics. But really it's saying be careful. Heroin was a dangerous thing, so I tried to put that in the lyric, you know. It would have got to number 1, but Big Mouth Bernal decided to tell the press that what it was about. And suddenly it was removed from all the playlists. And I said, thank you very much, you know.
But beyond the odd meter, the harpsichord and the subject matter, another thing that makes this song an unlikely pop hit is the structure. This song, Golden Brown, has no chorus. It's just the harpsichord riff section, which is instrumental, and the verse section.
Golden brown, texture like sun.
But effectively, that harpsichord riff serves as the hook in the place of a chorus. It's a bit like a song like Seven Nation Army, where the pinnacle of the song, the thing we're building towards, is that riff. So the riff here is in this very distinctive 13-beat phrase, but the verses of this song are in a far more typical 3/4, like a waltz. And according to lead singer Hugh Cornwell, this was an intentional choice. Musically, Golden Brown is in 13/8, so there are 3 bars of 3/4 waltz time and then 1 bar of 4/4. But it only does that in the pieces where there's no singing. When the singing comes in, it stays a straight 3/4. I arranged it like that with the lyrics because I knew it would be better to keep the 13/8 in an instrumental section rather than incorporate that into the verse. It would have been too complicated and damaged the appeal of the song.
Golden brown, texture like sun, lays me down, with my mind she runs.
So that's what's going on rhythmically in this riff. But what's going on harmonically? What chords have we got? Well, we've got B flat minor, F minor, G flat major, D flat major. So we get this chord progression 3 times in a row. So that's the B flat minor, F minor, G flat, D flat. But then on the 4th occasion, it starts the same, but quickly diverges by going to A flat and then G flat, and that climbs down to E flat minor. And that sort of establishes a new vamp, a vamp being just sort of a repeated chord progression, repeated riff, that will be the foundation of the verse.
Golden brown, texture like sun, lays me down, With my mind she runs throughout the night. No need to
So what
fight.
key are we in here? Well, I would say the opening section is best described as being in the key of B flat minor. So that's chords 1, 5, 6, and 3. But then when we get to the main bulk of the song, where we're on this vamp between E flat minor and D flat, yes, those two chords can be described as being in the key of B flat minor, the same key as the intro. They would be chords 4 and 3. It feels more like we've actually pivoted into a different key here, a related key center. It feels like we're now in the key of E flat minor, and this E flat minor is the 1 chord.
Golden brown texture like sun lays me down with
But it doesn't feel like a big bold key change, and that makes sense because the keys of B flat minor and E flat minor are what we describe as closely related. They only have one note that's not in common between those two scales, between those two sets of notes. And that note in this case is C. In the key of B flat minor, we have a C natural, but in the key of E flat minor, we have a C flat. That's the only note that makes the difference, and crucially in this song, we barely ever hear that note C. So we can just sort of exist in this limbo land where maybe we're still in the original key of B flat minor, maybe we've modulated to E flat minor. We never really have to commit because the music doesn't commit. It just exists in this sort of in-betweeny state, which I think lends to the dreamy vibe of this song. Newzik is a fantastic all-in-one sheet music app for the iPad. One of its best features is that you can scan in any piece of sheet music using your iPad's camera, and Newzik will turn it into a digital score, so not only it can play it back with audio, but it can even transpose that sheet music into a different key. Newzik turns the sheet music into a MIDI file, so you could even then export that MIDI file and bring it into an editor like MuseScore to develop the sheet music, or even a DAW to use that MIDI in a production. Newzik's a fantastic all-in-one solution because it's also a great way of just having a library of all of your sheet music in a really easy-to-use app. You can start using Newzik for free by following the link down below in the description.
golden brown texture like sun.
Now this part of Golden Brown, when we're on the E flat minor chord, moving to the D flat chord, makes me wonder whether Dave Greenfield was inspired by Take 5 by Dave Brubeck, because that song, Take 5, well, not only is a famously odd time signature song, just like Golden Brown is, but is based around a vamp between E flat and, well, almost D flat over B flat. You know, nothing that warrants plagiarism or anything, but it feels like there is a vein of inspiration going on there.
Golden brown texture like sun lays me down.
So Golden Brown is a very keyboard-centric song, and we actually have two main keyboards at the heart of it, kind of woven into one unified part. The most obvious is the harpsichord. Of course, I'm playing a sort of digital harpsichord sound today, but it seems the original was recorded using a genuine harpsichord at the Manor studio, and it seems that that harpsichord was at that studio because of Mike Oldfield. Mike Oldfield recorded his legendary record Tubular Bells at this very same studio. And on Tubular Bells, he played a whole range of instruments, including a harpsichord, which seems to be the same harpsichord on Golden Brown. But underneath the harpsichord part here, we also have a synthesizer part, basically doubling up and thickening out the harpsichord. And that makes a lot of sense considering the harpsichord is quite a bright and brittle sound. The synthesizer is a much warmer sound here, providing some low end. And it's not clear exactly what synthesizer was used here, but it was probably some sort of Oberheim, maybe the Oberheim X, which seems to be a keyboard that Dave Greenfield used quite a lot. In fact, on Golden Brown, even the bass is keyboard as well. In his book The Stranglers Song by Song, Hugh Cornwell explains that Dave Greenfield played the root notes on his keyboard, and because the band's bassist Jean-Jacques Bernal couldn't get his head around the unusual meter of the song, they just used the keyboard for the bass. On the 3rd of May 2020, Dave Greenfield, the keyboard player of the Stranglers, died at the age of 71 after being diagnosed with COVID-19. Stranglers lead singer Hugh Cornwell soon said in tribute, "He was the difference between the Stranglers and every other punk band. His musical skill and gentle nature gave an interesting twist to the band. He should be remembered as the man who gave the world the music of Golden Brown." And I couldn't agree more. The Stranglers are one of the most underrated bands of the 70s, in my opinion, and not just for Golden Brown, but their entire discography is jammed with fantastically creative music. Dave Greenfield's keyboard playing is a masterclass in how to creatively get keyboards into a typically guitar-dominated style of music, punk and rock. He picked up from where keyboard players like Ray Manzarek of The Doors left off and gave us some of the most stunning keyboard parts in any rock songs I've ever heard. So if Golden Brown is the only Strangler song you know, you should rectify that right now. I've made a playlist of all of my favourite Strangler songs. It's linked down below. And if you are familiar with the Stranglers' works, then let me know what your favourite Strangler song is beyond Golden Brown.